You've learned about HTML, the language of web documents and the language that web browsers read. But what if you want that document to be able to change? The solution to static web pages is called PHP. PHP is another language, like HTML, but PHP isn't a markup language. PHP is a programming language, and more specifically, it's a scripting language. If you think back to the very first HTML tutorial, you will recall that when you type a website into your browser, a request is sent to your browser's server. This request kindly asks for a file, and this file requested is usually written in HTML. If the request is normal, then the server says OK, and it sends the file back to your computer, which is then read by your browser. This is good for a lot of things, but PHP can greatly extend the power of HTML. The most common command in a PHP file is the print command. You will come to know and love the print command. If we have this line in our PHP file, then what happens when your browser asks the server for it? Okay, the server receives the request that you want a PHP file. The server then parses or reads the PHP file, and anytime it sees a special PHP tag, it will execute the code inside it. Once the file is completely parsed, that file is sent back to your computer, which is now usually written in HTML. So what does a PHP file actually look like? A PHP file might just contain HTML. This is the file from the Hello World example that you first saw. There is no actual PHP code inside it. The parser will read this file, but because it doesn't find any PHP tags, it is sent to the computer just the way it is. Let's add that PHP tag. An opening PHP tag looks like this: a caret, a question mark, then PHP. The closing PHP tag looks like this: question mark, caret. Once you're inside the PHP tag, you have to be very careful because the PHP parser is strict. Put every command on a new line and end each line with a semicolon. We'll say print, parentheses, quotation marks, semicolon. Now anything you put inside those quotation marks will be printed into the file when the parser sees it. How about a hello world paragraph in HTML? Just the standard p tag, hello world, closing p tag. What happens when this file is requested? The server receives a request for the file, and the parser looks for any PHP tags in it. In this example, the parser sees the PHP tag and replaces the PHP tag with what is in the print command. The file is then sent back to your computer, and it looks the same as before. You might ask, why go through all this trouble if you could The PHP language is expansive, not nearly limited to just the print command. For example, you could access a database and get a username, which you could then print to the screen. You could use a PHP file to manipulate a form, which you have seen in a previous tutorial. In that tutorial, the printer printed the variables posted by the form. You can also get information about time, perform math calculations, and make decisions based off logic. We'll learn all about this in a later tutorial. For now, understand this. A PHP file is just like an HTML file. You can put as much HTML in it as you want, but when you want to write some PHP, just use the PHP tag, like in HTML. When the file is parsed, the output of the PHP will contribute to the HTML file sent to your browser. Use the print command to create this output. Next lesson, we'll look at some basic PHP math.